Welcome to the MetalHeads podcast with the heavy metal strength coach and Shrubs 666. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the MetalHeads podcast. I am the heavy metal strength coach, and I'm joined by my brother in metal, Shrubs 666. How you doing, David?
Good morning. Not too bad. Not too bad.
We've tried to change our Zoom backgrounds today, if you're watching on YouTube, and we have some kind of Night of the Living Dead thing going on with Misery Index appearing in through my window, which I'm definitely keeping going. Anyway, so Shrubs, what have you been listening to this week?
One of the main ones I've been listening to is a band called End.
Yeah.
And their album Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face.
Okay.
Now, this is for people that really do like that Nails type death metal hardcore sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much in that vein. It's kind of a bit of a supergroup, really. It was basically started by someone called Brendan Murphy, who's from a band I don't really know called Counterparts, a Canadian hardcore band, and Will Putney from Fit for an Autopsy, who I do happen to know a little bit about with Fit for an Autopsy. They're basically sort of like that deathcore, death metal type band, a bit technical as well. But they're also filled with Greg Thomas from Misery Signals, who are an amazing band. Jay Pepito, who plays bass, I'm not sure of their bands, Reign Supreme and Blacklisted, and Billy Reimer, who was a drummer in Dillinger Escape Plan.
Right.
So yeah, it's quite a mixed bag of people from a few different genres, all on that sort of like heavier extreme side, and some technical stuff. But this isn't technical in any way. It's just full on
brutality.
Punch in the face brutality. They do some slower stuff though. I mean, one of my favorite tracks on there is a track called Pariah, and that's quite slow, but the riffs are just heavy on that.
I like it.
Nice and brutally heavy. So yeah, that one's been on my playlist quite considerably this week. Yeah. So it just fits my bored, angry mood at the
moment. Excellent. All right. Who else has been filling your ears this week?
Pretty much mostly death metal and a little bit of a shock one in a minute, but I'll bring that up in a minute. But the Exhumed and Gruesome split, Twisted Horror, which is a great bit of sort of like classic death metal. Exhumed have been going since 1990, and it's the main bloke in it, Matt Harvey, also did Gruesome, and Gruesome are basically like Death, the band Death. They're fans of fans of that because he played in the sort of like revitalized tour that they did of Death after Chuck Schuldiner had died. So he was a main part of that, and then decided to make Gruesome, who sound very much like a mix of Death from Scream Bloody Gore up to around Leprosy type period of Death, that where it's like almost proper death metal sounding. So that's really good, that split between them. I love the song Dead, Deadest and Deader, or something. No, Dead, Deader and Deadest by Exhumed. But you know, they're that typical sort of like comic book horror type fans. So they, you know, another one of their tracks is "Rot Your Brain." You know, so it kind of tells you the sort of style and lyrical content you're going to get with them. The Gruesome are a little bit more technical and a little bit more less sort of like horror related, but still horror related because it's death. So and it's death metal. So yeah, that's really cool. And then another band from California. Now I'm going to try and say this properly. It's Xibalba, Xibalba. Okay, and their album Anos and en infernio. So forgive me if I say that wrong because it's Spanish. So, which basically means years in hell.
Amazing. Oh, that sounds cool as anything.
And Xibalba is the in Mayan mythology is basically hell. It's the underworld in Mayan mythology. All the song titles, from what I can gather, all the song titles are in Spanish. However, the lyrics, when they're actually sung, are all in English.
Okay.
So, bit of an odd mix, but don't hold me to that because I mean just can't find the actual lyrics listing anywhere online for this album at the moment because they're not been posted yet. But that's really good, and it's got kind of a mixture of stuff, a bit of hardcore, bit of doom, but all sort of like death metal as well. So it's got those slow, dirgy deaths in it as well as some fast bits in it, and it kind of has a feel of some like doom bands, like old school doom bands from the era, sort of like the early 90s, and yeah, just properly good. So definitely for fans of Bolt Thrower, because it's definitely got sort of like that Bolt Thrower type feel to it, especially with the slower songs where they're really heavy riffs but slow and intense, and stuff like Gate Creeper, Tomb Mold, and that type of death metal, which is the newer stuff. So yeah, very much like that. And I think one song on there, El Bismo Part 1, and there's Part 2 as well. They both got very much a big doomy feel, but then you've got other songs that have got really heavy. Like I say, I'm not going to try and repeat them because they're all in Spanish, and my I don't know Spanish, so I'm not even going to try and do it. So yeah, those are in terms of metal, those are definitely the three that have been going around a lot this week for me. And then also just throw a spanner in the works there, Run the Jewels, bit of hip hop, RTJ4, got released. It was released free online. You could make donations to them for the album, and they were then passing those on to Black Lives Matter and some other affiliated organisations relating to the protests in the US. And what a great album that actually is. You know, it's not their best. I think for me, RTJ3 was their best, but RTJ4, there's just some really great songs on there. Walking in the Snow, a song Just, and a few words for the Firing Squad, which is the closing track on there, which when I read some of the lyrics, it's very personal to what's happened in LP and Killer Mike's lives in relation to everything, including the music and the money that's come through and how it's kind of changed and manipulated life as such from where they were, and it's really powerful. And then it breaks down in the middle to like a saxophone solo section, and it's amazing, and then goes into this really sort of like funky end, and it's about 6-7 minutes long, which is unusual for most hip hop stuff. But it's really good. But yeah, those three tracks stand out a mile on that album for me. But that's all the stuff I've been listening to this week.
Okay, that's amazing.
How about you? What have you got?
Well, I've been smashing through last week's recommendations. Listening to Afsky. I'm not going to try and pronounce the album. Drummer. Anyway, I just thought that was very moving for me. I thought the sound was very deep. A lot of their songs ended up on my training playlist. A lot of them ended up on my not quite training playlist, which is stuff that's very aggressive, but there's like slower bits in there, a little bit more mellow bits, and I just thought that was incredible. I listened to the Witchery album, In His Infernal Majesty. Let me just get the full title.
Is that the latest one?
No, this one's from 2016, In His Infernal Majesty's Service. And every single one of those songs ended up on my training playlist because that was just good old-fashioned thrash, just all the way through it. And then a German band called Nachtblut, who have kind of like a gothic industrial kind of look about them. And I really enjoyed every single song on that album as well. But then I looked into the earlier stuff, and it just seems like when they did this album in 2017, they really just stepped it up a gear. So I'll link that up in the show notes, and then maybe.
Yeah, I think I might have to check that one out then and have a look at that and see what that's like.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that because like when you, I feel that like with Rammstein, it's almost like tainted other German industrial music. Like, oh well, they're just trying to be like another Rammstein. And I went in there thinking that it was going to be like that, and it was just something just completely different. And I've been really enjoying a lot of German metal recently. I don't know if you know any German metal bands that are releasing anything recently or soon.
Not off the top of my head, but I mean, there's a lot of really, really good German metal bands out there in lots of different genres as well. I mean, Blind Guardian's one, if you like, sort of like that power metal type stuff. Halloween, if you want to go back to
Halloween.
And then if you want to go into some of the black metals, especially some of the sort of like atmospheric black metals, you've got Waldgeflüster, who are really, really, really good if you like sort of like Panopticon and stuff like that. And then you got the Vegane Freiheit if you want some of your more classic style black metal, who for me are another amazing band, the Vegane Freiheit, which I definitely recommend. Both
you'll have to message me how you spell that, because
yeah.
off the top of my head and my ignorance of the German language, I don't know.
I will send you the names of those.
That sounds good to me. And I've just realised that end album that you were discussing earlier, I listened to that in its entirety, and that all ended up on my training playlist as well. That is just absolute brutality.
Well, we had it on when we trained last week as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and then that made me find another band called Creeping Death, and the album Wretched Illusions as well, which I really, really, really enjoyed. All right, let's see if there's any other ones. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to recommend the album Requiem for Mankind by Memoriam. If you like Bolt Thrower, if you like just old school death metal, then that album is just a continuation of Bolt Thrower's work. What's the lead singer called again, Trubs?
Carl Willits.
Carl Willits, and he's just in his usual form with his distinctive growling, and just really, really solid album, and that all made it onto my training playlist as well. All right, so that brings me to my time to recommend a classic metal album for this week. So Shrubs, what have you got, my friend?
Well, for me, it would have to be, we're going to go down the thrash route with this one, and a quintessential British thrash band, and their name is Sabat. And the album would be Dreamweaver, which was their second album. Their first one's amazing as well, which is one I actually discovered theirs. But I think with the second album, their songwriting, the production, everything about that album is just absolutely on the ball. It's got Martin Walkire, who after this album, he left Sabat and then started another band called Skyclad, who are great, much more social, political type band and environmentally aware band. But also the guitarist Andy Sneap, who now does production work for the likes of Megadeth and people like that. So he sits there recording Megadeth's albums now. But he's an amazing guitarist and is in another decent British band called Hell, who are really, really good as well.
They're Hell are fantastic.
So amazing stage show as well, that Hell. Well, the guitarist from that, Andy Sneap, was the guitarist in Sabat as well. So if you like thrash and you want to go back to some of the early days, but with great songs, well thought out, brilliantly written, and with great production, you won't go far wrong with Dreamweaver. It was based on a book as well, and I can't remember the name of the book, but it's a pagan based book. So Yeah, I'd never read it, but I know it was based on a book. So
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's another episode absolutely packed full of recommendations, and we will
That's what we
see
try to
you
do.
next week for another load. So Shrubs, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.